Excellent. So, welcome back to New Jersey Aware, which is also advanced into USA Aware and Global Aware. And we just want to keep the conversation connecting and helping us collaborate. So, we have some guests from out of town, out of New Jersey, and we're going to have them introduce themselves first. We'll keep returning guests to just write in the chat so we limit the time. And then we'll get into our agenda and look at what we have to share with each other, because that's what we're doing, how to improve the mental health system by raising awareness with the spiritual and religious aspect of it. So I'm going to
Janet,
ask Mary.
Janet, are
Yeah.
you aware you're not visible?
Oh, all right.
There. Well,
No, let's just make believe things are not working. I have it visible. Sorry, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm looking at my camera. Um, I'm being techie is interfering today. Ah, all right, let's have Mary from Ohio. If you would introduce yourself and why are you showing up?
Hi, everybody. My name is Mary Dahl. I am calling in from Yellow Springs, Ohio, and I'm showing up because I just learned about Aware, and I had a spiritual awakening experience in 2016 after 20 years in the mental health system, and I want to make. I in 2017 I dropped my bipolar disorder label that I'd been carrying. And it is my hope to bring the idea of spiritual awakenings to the world. And it's my mission to leave a world where there's no such thing as labeling our children. So that's why I'm here. I I just feel like I found the right people here. I'm real excited about what Aware is doing, and so since it's brand new, I feel like I'm going to be more of a listener and observer today. But I'm really excited about it, and thank you for welcoming me.
Thank you, Mary. And Mary's going to be helping us sort through the docu-series that's in development. I would love to welcome John Kalinowski. Kalinowski?
You got it.
Yes, thank you. A new visitor.
Very new. And I was fortunate to meet Dr. Chatlos at the NAMI convention in New Jersey. And it was a great conference for me. And obviously I was not aware of Aware, and now I am. Um, I work for the Archdiocese of Newark, New Jersey. And over the past 3 years, we've been developing a mental health ministry. It's not about counseling, it's about walking with people, not necessarily that are in mental health crisis, but maybe family members or friends. Uh, as I said, it's an accompaniment ministry that we've been doing for the last 3 years. We're also in a partnership with Catholic Mental Health Ministers, which is out of Scranton, Pennsylvania. So my hope also as a hospital chaplain is to bring this all together, not only for the Archdiocese, but to continue the conversation, as Mary said, of getting away from what is considered stigma or calling people by their illness instead of by their name.
Mm.
Thank you.
Excellent. And we hope you continue to join us because we're looking to include many more perspectives from various religions, affiliations. So thank you for joining us. I will ask you in a little bit to comment on the NAMI presentation because we'll make some announcements. Reverend Emily, I like your little avatar there, but can we hear your intro? We'd love to have you here for our first time.
Hi, I'm driving, and so I didn't want to put my otter up, but I also didn't want to show you my driving skills tonight. They're not so good on Route 80 with all of the construction. But Emily Hall, I'm the director of chaplaincy at Greystone Park Psychiatric Hospital, and a lot of your names are familiar to me, and I'm so glad to be a part of this group and wherever it's going to go with us. I have not had well, I guess I've had a spiritual awakening when I met Janet, and I continue to have them every day now as I contemplate how we're going to move forward with making, spirituality and such an integral part of people's wellness, and how do we educate and move us forward. So I'm so stoked to be a part of Janet's world that it's not even funny.
So thank you for joining us. And Reverend Emily is going to help us coordinate some orientations to the chaplains around the state and the state hospitals, but also wider around the state, chaplains of all sorts, and focusing on a very specialty of the awareness for chaplains. So we'll hear a lot more from Reverend Emily. Lashima. So that is a new name for me. I think you're from CSPNJ.
Yes, I am. My name is Lashima from CSPNJ. Sorry about the camera being off today, but I have to get ready for a conference on Wednesday, so I'm taking my hair out. I'm actually excited to be here. A friend of mine who is also from CSPNJ is on here, introduced me to it, and told me about how great you guys were coming to her wellness centers. And I also got to see Dr. Chatlos present, which was amazing at NAMI. And I just really wanted to learn more, know more, and of course, just explore this whole idea of the spiritual awakening to its full extent. I'm excited to be here, and thank you guys for having me.
Lashima, don't go off yet. And what area of CSPNJ are you serving?
I am the regional coordinator for the Hudson County, Essex, and Union County Wellness Centers.
The wellness centers. Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. So we might ask you to also come back on when we talk about the NAMI presentation. But in the agenda, in the agenda, I put some links for people to get familiar with. We actually do have 3 peer respites, and you can take a virtual tour, but you can also see 18 or more wellness centers around the state that you can just walk in. You can refer people to. They're staffed with amazing peer support, lived experience. So I put that link in the agenda as well, that we want to get to know these services are here. Evan, you did show up once, but maybe, a lot of people might not know you if you wanted to do a brief introduction as well. So thanks for coming back.
Yeah, thanks, Janet. My name's Evan Goots. I am a LPC in New Jersey. I'm a private practice trauma specialist. I do a lot of EMDR. I also have a few cases from my previous group practice, but just doing independent work, and do consult with organizations here or there as much as possible to volunteer in movements like these for reducing stigma and, spreading the sensitive language that we can keep using to replace harmful, and stories like Janet's and other people who have experienced, the spiritual emergency. I believe in, I support, so I'm kind of like an ally, but also want to volunteer more. I've just got 2 little girls and work full time. So it's hard for me to show my face, but I do want to participate and join, and would love to partner with all of you guys, especially like CSPNJ and with other organizations as much as possible.
Excellent. Well, we'll be making some announcements of how you might want to do that. I see Kurt Drews is here by phone, and he's been named our first chairperson of a board of advisors. So Kurt, would you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So yes, I am also happy to be here as a board of advisors member, to help guide this path forward of religious experience, as well as mental health, which is near and dear to my heart for a lot of reasons. And I have a background for 22 years in biotech and pharma. So that's one of the reasons that I am very passionate about the patients and passionate about people in general. So whatever I can do to contribute to the cause is what my motivation is at this point in time, but that's just a little bit about myself.
So we're glad you showed up, and we will share some connections here. Kurt and I are building a board of advisors. We're looking for people from multicultural, multi-age, and multidiscipline. So you can ask Kurt or me after this about the board of advisors, which will be over not only AWARE, but all of our media projects, intellectual property, and outreach to change the system. It's a much larger initiative. So I think we got all the new people, and others, please introduce yourself in the chat. I do want to mention we started November 2023. And how did we start? We went to Rutgers Medical School in Newark, and the psychiatrist presentations talked about the spiritual side of mental health, but not only that, the spiritual crisis, the spiritual emergency from religions from all over the world. So take a look at the short video we did, and if you want more information about that, they kicked this off. We started in New Jersey, we expanded to Chicago, California, Texas, now UK, South Africa. So it is definitely a global initiative. I do want to highlight a moment, and Olivia, maybe you comment. I was going to show the video and some of the pieces you contributed, but Olivia is from Illinois, and Olivia really is an official sponsor of AWARE because she's been funding some of the development behind the scenes. And would you just comment, Olivia, about what you're doing with first responders and AWARE, but just a little bit about your fear video, because I'll send that out to everybody later as part of our promotional.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Olivia Johnson here. I'm in Southern Illinois. Everybody says Chicago as soon as they think Illinois, but I'm at the other end, closer to St. Louis. Yeah, Janet, that fear video or the fear concept was more trying to really help families and loved ones to break down that stigma and that fear that we have dealing with people that have mental health issues. And any of us can have them at any time, but I think they become very scary. I have a son who struggles with mental health issues, though he doesn't want to deal with it. And it can be like walking on eggshells one minute, very scary the next. And then, maybe you have a great day, here and there. But I felt like it was something that could help kind of bridge the gap. I don't have the terminology and everything up in front of me, Janet. I haven't been looking at it as of recent, but I'm really proud to be a part of this and the AWARE piece of this to really bring education, not only to the law enforcement side when dealing with individuals that have mental health issues and just being more compassionate and less aggressive, if you will, because I'm prior law enforcement and military. So I see a lot of things that we can improve on our end that we don't always want to talk about. We always like to share the stories of when things work out, but there's a lot that don't work out. And there's some things that we can do to better that and to make that connection with our communities a lot better. So I'm really happy to be here and appreciate that, Janet.
Excellent. Thank you. So when you visit the website, you'll see some of Olivia's work there, as well as just her whole history. So I'm going to jump into a few announcements and then have the conversation. Dr. Chatlos, I'm going to ask you to be brief, but just give us a quick update. We like to share updates. We have some latest information on the term moral injury is being added to the DSM. Dr. Chatlos intends to publish probably the first piece on how it connects to spirituality and spiritual experience. And then maybe just briefly on some terminology, because in our orientation, we're trying to show terminology. But if you would just comment briefly on what we're doing with moral injury and raising awareness, especially to prevent.
Yeah, but before I do that, I want to say to John and Reverend Emily, you're minimizing your efforts. John has an incredible curriculum for parishioners on mental health and spirituality, and Reverend Emily has the best chaplain inpatient hospital program I've even conceived of. So I'll speak for them. Excellent. Moral injury is been developed primarily from veterans and then first responders and then healthcare workers. It recently got officially accepted into a V code of the DSM. So it's moral moral injury, spiritual and religious problems. They've been spending years defining it, and I'll read you the latest because it's excellent, excellent work. That moral injury is persistent distress that arises from a personal experience that disrupts or threatens one's sense of the goodness of oneself, of others, of institutions, or of what are understood to be higher powers, and B, one's beliefs or intuitions about right and wrong or good and evil. And moral injury usually is focused on people that have witnessed an event, that have perpetrated an event, or may have been victim of an event. There's three different sets of looking. And the idea is that there are what they call potential morally injurious experiences that are described like that. When the distress is present, we call it moral distress. When the distress is persistent, we then call it progression into a moral dilemma or a moral injury. And when the persistent distress reaches a certain severity, they're proposing that there actually be a moral injury disorder in the framework of the DSM, though they are concerned about pathologizing something else, like moral injury. So it's a fruitful, it captures the part of injury that PTSD treatments traditionally have not been successful in treating veterans and first responders. There's a deeper level of heart and soul that seems to get injured. And as Janet's referring to, people that have had spiritual experiences that have been mishandled, mistreated, misdiagnosed, have a moral injury because of the multiple effects that it has on their identity, their stigmatizing, their family, their whole future. So I think that's enough. Okay, Janet?
Yeah, that's excellent. And we're connecting with the specialist, Dr. Francis Liu, out in California. So we're working on a leading edge to get into publications. Dr. Chatlos will be publishing something. We are connecting with lived experience, where people who had a beautiful spiritual experience, it turned into a trauma. And what we want to do is prevent this, which is why we have AWARE. We're looking to prevent moral injury when someone has, something directed from on high, and it's supposed to be an opening and supported. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into our media projects. What I'd like to do is talk briefly about some of our progress, some of you know, and where we want to go. The NAMI presentation that Dr. Chatlos recently did, John and Serena, if you want to comment, and why, because this was a new one. This was different. We've been doing orientations and we want to do more, but Dr. Chatlos spoke at a different level to an audience of psychiatric survivors, patients, families. And John, I'll ask you to go first. What moved you from that?
Well, it was the incredible way that Dr. Chatlos explained each step of each one of the steps that that we deal with spiritually, and whether it's from a faith journey, whether it's a non-faith journey, but still that spirituality exists, for me was very interesting because of the fact of my chaplaincy background, in that when I'm visiting people, especially in a hospital setting, and I have done work in a psychiatric hospital as well, is that we're meeting that as a chaplain, it's about the patient, the person, and not about me as much when it comes to this faith and spiritual journey. And that was very much a part of the presentation that I really got a lot out of, because it's something that I felt needed to be explored more from my own sense of being as both a chaplain and as a coordinator for mental health. And so the way the presentation was done, if this makes sense, really laid everything out for me in a much more concrete way than I've ever seen before.
Excellent, excellent.
Thank
We
you.
did get a fair amount of feedback that it was, a little deeper. Serena, would you comment? Because again, it went deeper than our traditional orientations, and we do intend to go deeper with longer training. But Serena, you attended and saw previous. What was different about this? What was the value?
I have to agree with John. I was thinking the same exact direction, how person-centered it was, and knowing people there that expressed how phenomenal it was for them, and knowing their spiritual backgrounds as well. It hit home for people of all denominations. It's non-denominational, so, and I thought it would be such a fantastic follow-up for presentations we're doing at the hospital wellness centers too, because it was focusing on CBT and how to incorporate it into the spiritual. And I loved that, because it's not exactly teaching CBT, but it's just showing how to incorporate it. I loved that too.
Serena, would you just mention what your connection to CSPNJ and the announcement that we're going to Ancora?
Yes. So I am the advocacy coordinator for Collaborative Support Programs of New Jersey. I oversee our peer-run hospital wellness centers on the grounds of Greystone, Ancora, and Trenton psychiatric hospitals. Shout out to Reverend Emily on there. I was happy to see her. And we have an upcoming presentation next at Ancora after 2 amazing visits at TPH and not Ancora, Greystone.
Yes. So this is a thing called, did you know there's actually a wellness center, a safe respite at the basement or the side of a hospital where people are locked in an institution, many for a long time. Like, did you know there's this beautiful wellness center that has a massage chair and a pool table and books and computers? They have access to the outside world. We get to meet these beautiful people, and the conversations have been extraordinary because most of them have had spiritual experiences. Most of them don't know where and how to speak, and they're getting an awareness that this is real. And then because CSPNJ has other services, these people get supported as they leave. So I'm going to link into what's going to happen next in Ancora. We're actually going to meet with the MDs, the psychiatrists. That is a first. Anyone can comment, or Serena or Emily, what can you imagine is the impact or the plus about actually talking to MDs? We're going to talk to the psychiatrists in the state hospital. That's a big win. What's your reaction to that? Because that's the first. That's a first of what we hope is many. Who'd like to comment? What's good about that we got near MDs? Reverend Emily, come on, you can speak up. What's good about getting near MDs? We might have lost her. Calvin, what's good about getting near MDs, your peers?
First of all, just getting them to listen about spirituality. I think it's sort of known that mental health and psychiatrists and psychologists are probably some of the least faith-based, spiritual focused people. So we hope to start the conversation that spiritual experience is real, is valuable. Please don't get it mixed up with psychosis, and please think twice before we throw on labels, because the labels really can be terribly stigmatizing for years. and
And
can cause moral injury.
and I just couldn't get myself to unmute. And
Okay.
I think, you know, psychiatrists are scientists, and in this field, what I got awoken to today in a conversation is that having a psychiatrist get on board with this, have any of the psychiatrists get on board and really see this as an actuality, a realism, a truth, is so much different than having the clergy who are consistently talking about higher powers and things that cannot be, in some people's minds, proven, is so important. So to have the psychiatrist jump on board and get involved in this conversation is going to open a whole new realm in the state system. I'm super excited about it. So I can't wait to see how
Absolutely.
it fans out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're curious as to what we'll find.
Yeah, so progress is we're getting your MDs. We want to get to nurses, staff, not only in the state hospitals, but we're talking with Hackensack Meridian. A shout out or a request to anyone, if we can get near any of the organizations in New Jersey, hospitals, clinics, et cetera, and just do an orientation. We can do it in 30 minutes, 60 minutes, but literally to get MD to sponsor us, we think we can get into the other state hospitals and raise awareness. Faith Council, Jersey Shore Hospital sponsors a Faith Council of all the chaplains in the hospitals. And we have a number of chaplains here. So I want to just say how it's just a great landing spot every quarter. And you can imagine the camaraderie that happens with all the chaplains in that hospital system. If anyone that is here could also want to connect with that, we can, do an orientation. But, maybe, I don't know if Reverend Lydell, if you want to chime in here, you had an intent for us to do an orientation for your chaplains. And, does that still seem like it could be a service to the chaplains in Monmouth County?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. Reverend Lydell Lake is Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office, for those who don't know me, as well as lead pastor of Triumph Life Church. But my work at the prosecutor's office allows me to be the community engagement liaison for our chaplaincy programs across Monmouth County, as well as within the police police academy. I do some of the training there. So yes, I'm looking at our June date, which is going to be all of our chaplains, to try to give a spot like that. We do have, we've been really trying to organize our chaplaincy programs across Monmouth County. So I didn't want to preemptively invite you in when it was just a training. I think the one thing that you were trying to be a part of it was just our training, and we were training chaplains to go into police departments. But we have a really great survey that we sent out, and all the police departments gave us all their chaplains. And so we're trying to have a big chaplaincy training day, which will be like maybe 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours. And we could definitely look at giving where an hour, 30-minute spot, something to that effect, to be a part of that training process, where we will also have some of our chiefs and so forth be present at that chaplaincy training. So
excellent. So, again, it can just keep growing, whatever group. So it's a fully holistic, integrated approach. We want to touch every part of the system, just raise awareness first. And I want to do one more. So Dr. Chatlos, you presented in Monmouth County with, I forget, the Lynn Seaward's group. And then
Lindsay Ashwald.
What's that?
Lindsay Ashwald?
No, Lindsay, I'm sorry.
Lynn Seward.
Lynn Seward, sorry, Seward, right.
Mental Health Association.
Right. So that moved, and that turned into an invitation to orient the disaster response crisis coaches counseling. One of the members thought that during a disaster, people respond in all kinds of ways and could have, very spiritual needs or even spiritual reactions, religious reactions. So Calvin, what does it mean to you to be invited to the disaster response group. That's a new group for us.
But yeah, it's a new group. It's a little bit of a stretch, but the research and experiences really do show that there are huge challenges to belief, worldviews, even faith with serious disasters. And if we can get in there early and either normalize it or provide the support, it hopefully won't progress into PTSD and all those other things. So that's quite an opportunity.
So going forward, you're welcome to contact me. We can do a 30-minute, a 60-minute orientation, and we're going to take orientations or schedule them up to June. Then we'll take the summer off to get into our media projects. So please let me know if you have a group that you want us to show up virtually or in person. So the next to last,
Carlito,
yeah.
Janet, Carlito has his hand up.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Carlito, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, hi, Janet. Hey, Dr. Chatlis, I wanted to make sure I chimed in when, you kind of spoke music to my ears in crisis counseling, right? So I'm a certified crisis counselor with disaster response crisis counseling unit for New Jersey. And I was just deployed last week. So I do know some folks in the Passaic County area. So we could work on that together if that helps you out. What they did was there was an active shooting training last week, and they wanted us crisis counselors there on site like a few hours after the training. They actually shot off guns in Patterson. They made people aware around the county area. This is what we're doing. It's just a training exercise. You're going to hear gunshots at this hour, blah, blah, blah. And then they wanted us coming in afterwards, several hours after, which I showed up at 2:00 to be able to supply any kind of support for anybody who's going through what they're going through. So they're very active, Passaic County specifically, and Pastor Reverend McDuffie in Patterson, New Jersey. I'm still collaborating with him, so we could probably bridge if you want on the DRCCs.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. So close to the last, before we get into how can we assist you, this is about collaboration and where we're going next. We have media projects happening, and our tagline is it's more than a movie, it's a movement. And what we're doing here with AWARE, this is a movement in New Jersey, across the United States and around the world. But most of you know, we're doing media projects. And I want to start off with, we have secured a collaboration with CSP&J to do a collaborative movie around the whole peer support. What is the value and research on peer support, whether they're wellness centers, counseling, coaching, and the spiritual part. And that's not been done. There are some peer support media out there, but not as much with the spiritual part. So if Serena's here, I don't know if anybody else from CSP&J is here. Oh, Ashima. Serena, what do you think about that? Why is, what's the value of us partnering with CSP&J on this new media project? Might have lost her. Calvin, if you want to mention, I know we did have some of the leadership were going to be here. I don't think they're here. What is the value, given all the media projects we're doing, to partner with CSP&J?
I think most of you probably are aware the peer respite and peer support programming does a great service to prevent hospitalizations, cheaper. It's a person-to-person lived experience relationship, and it needs more visibility in order to get not just more funding, but more spread throughout the whole state. And that's our main move, is to make it visible, but to bring in the spiritual part, because I think it's the first responders and the peers that really make a difference. Janet, what you didn't say is that this is part of a competition to get funds to do a video public access that would have visibility for the people that are giving the award. So we're trying to compete for it.
We are. And we just secured the partnership of a very experienced producer. So we feel like our chances are really good. We'll complete that in another week or so. I'm going to say it out loud. Dr. Chatlos, we intend to do this whether or not we get the award. We will find the money. It is so important. And we're going to be focusing on those of you who are in New Jersey and even Monmouth County. We're going to be focusing on that area, and then we're going to show the growth and spread across the United States and around the world on the value of peer. Olivia, you know, and Reverend Akins and others, you know, veterans want to speak with veterans, their peers, right? And first responders want to speak with first responders. We sort of know that, but it's not so known about how mental health consumers need to speak with their peer and not just a medical doctor. And then what we really don't know is when people have these unique spiritual experiences, that they really need to speak with somebody that has had that. So Olivia, do you see the connection of going from, our veterans and first responders need peers, but so does, everyone else in the mental health system?
I do agree with that. However, one of the things that we run into too with first responders is, there's a lack of standardization in what that means to be a peer, and knowing when to refer out and knowing that you're not going to make the situation worse. So there's something to be said about standardization and how that happens. So I think that, protocol definitely needs to be put in place for this. It'll definitely be different. But I think it's something to definitely think about before moving into that field. It is important because you want to talk to somebody that has that lived experience. But on the same hand, if you're both not doing well, then you have to wonder is that the best move right now for these individuals. So it's just really, just kind of feeling the space, and I think it definitely has a lot of benefit.
So your voice, we need to invite you to speak into that this summer, because your experience, that would be a good point, because we're not launching the whole program. We're actually doing a video to move this. And I think your voice would be great in it, which leads me to Evan, you want to get more involved, and anyone, we will be filming this summer, specifically around this area. We're filming for other movies as well. And we're looking for a lived experience around the spiritual experience. We are looking for younger people, 20 somethings. We don't have enough younger people's voice. So when we can get some 20 somethings in here, I think it'll add another dimension. And we're looking for more interfaith leaders. I know Reverend Emily is looking for some for us. We want representation from other faiths to talk about, well, what does it mean from a Hindu experience or a Muslim experience, et cetera, around the spiritual part, because this enters all cultures, all religions. So we're looking for more referrals to get involved, but anyone can be involved in our media projects. And please reach out to me because we will be filming in New Jersey. Calvin, somebody was going to try to connect us to Bruce Springsteen. Was that a dream?
Someone said they knew Stephen Van Sant, who was Springsteen's bandmate. So we don't know.
We don't know, but we are looking to get some celebrity endorsement that have had mental health issues, which most of them have. So please talk to me offline if you want to assist or, invite some other people. So that is our brief on our announcements and conversation. I'd love to ask the question of how can we support your initiatives? What do you need? How can someone here help? What's going on good in your organization that you want to do a shout out? So I'd love to hear from any and all on how might we collaborate? How do you want to get involved, or how can we support you?
Janet, Lashima has her hand up.
Thank you.
And then I want to say something we did before you go to that question.
Yes, please, Lashima.
I actually wanted to say something about the whole lived experience and peer aspect, and how this could be beneficial, and probably one of the reasons why I'm here too, because you mentioned something about the effects that peers have on those who have mental health, right? So I'm someone who's benefited off of that, right? So one of those peers are here today. I'm not going to put them on the spot, but I could say that one of the things that I've noticed, especially when you're dealing with folks like first responders, officers, and even certain outreach teams, um, it's a unique way that a person has to respond to reach you, right? And yeah, they can have a lived or shared experience like yourself, but it's really that emotional connection, that empathy that they have, and that ability to make you, make your experience feel real to you. I guess that's the spiritual connection of it. And that person who's on this call had to do this with me 2 years ago. And, it was something that was ongoing and they had to continuously do this. And it was non-judgmental. And because of that, and I'm still trying to figure out how I ended up in the place I'm here today, like how I'm here today, where I am today from just that alone, because nothing else worked. I've been through the system. I've been through different treatment programs. I've been misdiagnosed multiple times. But all I really needed was somebody to listen and understand, hear me, and just let what I was feeling be real. And I just wanted to kind of share that, because it is a difference between folks with lived experience and then transferring into a peer. And I think that collaboration with collaborative support programs in New Jersey will give you that unique ability to really hone in with folks who really, really live, eat, breathe that peer movement as it should be, is all I wanted to kind of share.
I'd like to give some claps and thumbs up for Lashima, please. If you can see me, I'm clapping here. I think that's a great way to, get some input. Is it exactly? And we want to show that simple part that you're talking about. Can we stop, pause, listen, hear, have rapport? Please, let's have some comments for what Lashima gave. That was, you got it right to the point. Calvin, you're smiling.
Well, as Dr. Olivia mentioned, it's the non-judgmentalness that is critical. And that's part of what we need to emphasize in all of our training. The judgment is an immediate turnoff, whether it's mental health crisis, spiritual crisis, family crisis. We really need to have the empathy, and people that have gone through it seem to have a little more compassion and empathy for similar situations.
Carlita, you're doing it, shaking your head.
Yeah, no, I think it's very much in any work that you're involved in people's pain, you kind of, if you get close to it, you not only feel their pain, but you kind of carry space for them. And if you don't know, well, I shouldn't say you don't know, but if you have the best ability you can to really listen first, be quick to listen, and not answer while they're talking. That's the first place you can create conversation. So any dynamic that's a first responder, that's facing off, like client facing, whether they need to really have the screening for listening for pain and identifying the pain first. That's where I think it starts, with empathy.
And that connects, Reverend Nidell or Reverend Sparks, if you want to comment on Arrive Together. First responders that respond on their own, you're thinking safety of the person themselves and the area. But when we have Arrive Together, maybe you talk about that, because sometimes it's really hard for a first responder on their own to do that stop, pause, and listen when they're concerned about safety. So, what's good about this Arrive Together and combining people who can listen, stop and listen? Reverend Lydell, if you could unmute.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was trying to unmute. The Arrive Together program, I think that's why I was asking if you were having Lindsay Ashwell, because she, of course, out of our office, does the two programs. But of course, it's always great. I mean, I've been a chaplain for over 18 years in Asbury Park in several areas. And there's nothing better to be able to come on the scene while the scene is active, to be introduced in that regard and allow you to be warm handed off to the family to be able to be a part of transition of a situation. So it's without question a great program and a great opportunity.
And, you know, it's happening here in New Jersey, parts of New Jersey, don't know where it's happening around the country. But again, I'm going to connect it back to our media. We want to get this out in the public as public service announcements that this is really here. There's good news. There's positive movement happening when people might be frustrated with the mental health system. So that's a perfect example of more that's coming and that we want to feature out in our media. So go
Reverend
ahead.
Sparks.
Yes, please.
As Liddell said, when the police officer is sure that the area is secure, they want to do nothing more than hand that off to the people. Yeah. And when it's not a non-threatening event, they want to ensure that the mental health, and I'm sure Carlito can verify this, they want the mental health, the chaplains, and those who are involved to do what they do. And they want to work alongside of us. And then when the situation is clear, knowing that they can leave and then to be able to turn it over to competent people. That's where I think the value is. And with the peer-to-peer, it doesn't force them to go to the emergency room. It doesn't force them to have to stay in a hospital till someone evaluates you and you can't go to work and you can lose funds. And so it gives an opportunity to be able to let them have dignity and to be able to speak to someone, particularly if they have the authority to say, no, they don't have to go to the hospital. That's even better.
That we're going to get your voice into the media too, because that's exactly what we want to do. You know, there's mobile crisis units, there's Arrive Together, there's stabilization centers going to come out in New Jersey that we want to be able to say, well, if, you know, we can prevent hospitalization, then where else do they go after a stabilization center? Well, we want to get more peer respite so we can, you know, preserve the dignity. And so that's why we come together.
Janet,
go ahead.
Real quick, Dr. Sparks, Reverend Sparks, you were mentioning about they want to. I actually just would poll cops on the side, just ask them. Like I was at Clifton High School one time, and I just, you know, police officer was just in his car waiting. He's, you know, obviously just sitting there, and I went up to him and asked him, like, what do you think the percentages are of 10 people you come up to, engage them, site is really sort of in crisis, if you want to say that. What does it have to do with any spiritual sort of emergency? He said like 7 out of 10. He's like, it's a lot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he said it's a pretty large number. I have a lot of work to do out there, but I really think, yes, I agree with you, Reverend Sparks. They want to hand it off, and they know they're not equipped to do what they need to do. And if we could have wonderful funding from so many agencies, would be great to support what we need to support out in the communities. So you're right, Reverend Sparks. It is highly, highly needed, in demand right now.
Yes. And just a quick point about some of our orientations going forward. Our collaborator in Texas, Ernie Stevens, he was explaining to us that there was a large percentage, almost 40% of the mental health calls did have to do with a spiritual experience, spiritual emergency. We didn't know it was that high. And their training said this is called hyper-religiosity or religiously preoccupied. And what we're going to do with the awareness is there's something good going on there. It's not immediately a diagnosis, a diagnosable mental illness. So it's possible to even just raise the awareness of first responders so that there can be a handoff and some kind of an attention that this is not a bad thing. There could be something good going on here. So our intent, even for, you know, the very first responders, we'd like to. I see John mentioned something here about interested in chaplains.
May I just, for those of you that heard about the presentation at NAMI, the title and it's a booklet that we now have. If you can read this, our goal is literally to promote a spiritual awakening for New Jersey. This is no longer at this point an idealistic dream, given the many things that are going on behind the scenes that people don't know about. We just once we get awareness, I think the programming and what's already present will bubble to the surface. And I do not think, because New Jersey's small, we've got resources, we've got diversity, this is the place for us to really demonstrate that there is such a thing, and it's very valuable. So we invite you all to be a part of it. If you would like a booklet, get your address to me and I'll try to send you one.
Right. Or
Until
we'll
we
show
can
up
get
this,
it online.
right. This summer we need to show up in person. So I'm going to put a plug in again that's where we want to connect to various interfaith chaplains, interfaith religious leaders, and bring that consciousness awareness together. And I think there's a priest that you've introduced us to, Calvin, that heads up an interfaith group. We'll add that to the follow-up, which will be great. I did want to comment, unless there's any other questions, John, you're talking about you're interested in chaplaincy training. We do have a number of chaplains here. Did you want to ask a question about where do you go for that, or do you want to talk?
It was more about, I'm already a board certified chaplain. What I was trying to do is to figure out when the training may happen that I could invite other chaplains that I know of that don't necessarily get the psychological, spiritual awareness backgrounds. I'm able to, as a supervisor, educator candidate, I'm able to only speak to a small group of students that I work with. But on a organizational, I belong to a certifying body. And what I'd like to do is say, you know what, this might be a good time to collaborate on a national basis.
Mm. So I'm going to connect you with Reverend Emily, because she wants to coordinate some further training for chaplains around the state. So I think we can have. Go ahead.
No, I was the other thing, and I appreciate that, Reverend Emily, because one of the things that I found out is that outside of psych hospitals, state psych hospitals, most public hospitals, even if they have a psychiatric unit, there is not that sense of being asked to be part of the team from a chaplain level to the psychiatric units. Unlike what I did at TPH, which was we were part of the team. At Jersey City Medical Center, where I did some chaplaincy, I only through the knowledge of meeting and speaking with the doctors, the MDs, one-on-one, was I able to have any type of input into let's go that next step.
Yes. And this is what we're looking to influence. I think you'll enjoy talking to Reverend Emily. In Greystone, the chaplains have sign-off. They're actually their signature name on the sign-off papers. That's not necessarily so in the other state hospitals. So we're looking to cause more movement, even within the state hospital system. So let's continue this. I do like to end on time. Dr. Chatlos and I can stay a little bit longer if anybody wants to. Our next meeting will be in July. We're doing them quarterly, but we will talk in between hand. Reverend Sparks did have to leave early, but he started with us under the notion that we said we want to bring clergy and chaplains into the fold. And when there's a 988 or 911 call, can we call a chaplain too? Can you please give me a chance to have that integrated and walk through the hospital scenario and interconnect? So we are moving forward from when we started in 2023, and we so appreciate that you showed up. So please contact me or Dr. Chatlos individually if you want to get involved in any of the events and media projects. Would anybody like to say anything as a close?
I would like to say, Janet, some of you may not realize how heartening it is for you to show up and raise questions and give us your perspectives and your experiences. The more we hear about what's out there, the better I think Janet and I are going to be able to address what some of the needs are. So thank you.
Yes,
for
it
the
is.
time.
We've held this when one person showed up. We've held it when two people, and we're like, we're doing it. But we literally had like 17 sign up, and we'll get more. I apologize for my technical difficulties. Nobody has to tell me to press the button here. It's not working. But thank you. And we'll talk and meet up. And yeah, and thank you for our across the United States team from Ohio and Illinois.
Bless
All
you
right.
all.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Excellent.
Evening.
We'll talk
Bye-bye.
soon.
Take care. Thank you.